Hold on 1 second, guys. I'm having some connectivity issues. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back up and running finally. Apologies for the delay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to the lab. This is your source for the weekly rundown of all things IFL. We take a look at the week that was, the week that is to come, and discuss all the other great things that are going on in this amazing league. It is a little past 10 over here on the East Coast, and it is Wager Wednesday in the Indoor Football League. Thank you so much for tuning in and bearing with me while we go through a bit of a rocky start tech-wise. But in any event, for those of you who are new to the Indoor Football League or to this channel, I want to warmly welcome you aboard. My name is Alex Schuberth. I am the lead IFL contributor over for a sports forum site called Sports Coast to Coast. They are a Pacific Northwest-based sports forum site that specializes in the coverage of the Indoor Football League and its 14 active member teams specifically. We have updated team-by-team rosters each week, along with all the game previews, recaps, and a wide host of other analysis and fan discussion. I have the URL for that in the description, so definitely check it out if you haven't done so already. There you will also find the written version of my Wager Wednesday post. So let us get my other screen back up and running here. Perfect. So we're here. 8 weeks in the books. We have now, I believe, 12 more to go, including this one, either 11 or 12. Math is hard at this time, but in any event, we rock through as we get set for week 9. So what happened in week 8? A whole heck of a lot. It was very good for us on our prediction front. We had the only undefeated team in the league finally stumble. We had another great outing out west between the Panthers and the Rattlers, and sprinkled in there, one of the most insane bad beats you will ever see in your life. We'll go through all 6 of those games in greater detail, give them the appropriate recaps that they deserve. We'll see how these results add into the season-long tracker. We'll take another look at some noteworthy trends there along each betting type and team. And figure out, are there any perfect streaks that are still alive? We had 4 by team. Of our reflections, we will chart course for week 9. It is a fully loaded 7-game slate, all 14 teams. And a lot of nice payouts out there. We'll begin things with Quad City and Green Bay doing battle at center up in Wisconsin. Green Bay was a 1.5-point underdog, maybe a line that didn't fully factor in the health of Daquan Neal. The usual steam-wheeler starter was the backup quarterback for this game, as Corey Ross decided to give Demi Croft a shot to lead the offense. And it was a struggle. Green Bay's defense played fantastic. They forced quite a few turnovers from Croft. along with some nice 3-down stands to force some field goal attempts, while the Blizzard bounced back nicely after getting beat pretty badly by Tulsa a week prior. And Max Myler and that offense right back to form. This was pretty much Green Bay wire to wire, with our bet winning and the Blizzard handing Quad City their first loss of the season. That game ended a 47-25 final score, and that got everything started with that positive Saturday afternoon result. Elsewhere in the league, we had Iowa and Tulsa. The Barnstormers looking to rebound off a brutal loss against Jacksonville. Tulsa looking to keep their hot streak going following a couple consecutive wins. And this was all Iowa. Building up as much as a 31-point lead. Depending on which bet that you had, you may or may not want to discuss the last 12 minutes of that one, but there was a bunch of action scattered in there. We had Iowa fight through to the very end, right up to the final whistle. They recovered an onside kick. They got a kickoff return touchdown. They got a pick six. They did positively everything that they could to make this as interesting as possible. But in the end, that 31-point lead was too much to overcome from a practical standpoint. The Oilers do just enough to withstand the rally. They win 62-57 in one of the higher scoring games in the Indoor Football League this season, as Tulsa advances to 4-2 and Iowa falls further behind with a record of 1-5. We had a few games out in the Western Desert, one of which was in Henderson, as the Nighthawks hosted the San Antonio Gunslingers for the second time in 3 weeks, after the Nighthawks prevailed in Freeman Coliseum 35-28 last time out. This one was far more convincing. Jerome Johnson drew the start for Vegas and basically refound his form that led him to being named the IFL MVP last season. He accounted for 4 touchdowns. Antonio Wimbush accounted for 4 touchdowns. Vegas was very close, a lot closer than people like to admit, at making this point total all by themselves. And their defense just feasted on a Gunslingers offense that continues to struggle. The defining moment of this game for our betting purposes was the final drive of the game, at which point the score was 48-27 in favor of the Nighthawks. We needed not a touchdown from Vegas on their last drive with about a minute to go, but it ended up being the 4th rushing touchdown of the game by Antonio Wimbush to push things through. So unfortunately for us, the bet loses, but the Nighthawks get their 3rd win in a row, send San Antonio tumbling down to loss number 4 in a row in that dominant 55-27 victory. We've got some comments here from Monica. Croft had one decent season in Tucson, but hasn't done much of anything since. I could agree with that. I remember hearing about Croft for the first time in 2011, was pretty serviceable in that season, but it's been a struggle for him in the year since, for sure. The 4th game that we have is the Massachusetts Pirates against the Tucson Sugar Skulls. This was the only non-conference matchup of the Week 8 slate, and Tucson riding that momentum from their win against Arizona the week before. They came in and just dominated the Pirates, both sides of the ball. They limited Kenji Behar to a completion percentage under 30% in this one, which pretty much tells you all you need to know. The Skull offense, on the flip side, was very good. After a couple of first quarter interceptions by Jorge Reyna, he settled down really nicely and led pretty much all touchdown drives. So the Sugar Skulls get the jump early on the Pirates. They get some key plays throughout the entirety of the second half. They win that game 47-26. That barely stayed underneath our 78.5 mark there, and that pick was in very grave danger. Last drive of the game, the Pirates had the ball. Very easily could have been a garbage time touchdown at the end of the game to spoil our plans there, but It ended up being a fumble by Behar, recovered by Ahmad Lyons of the Sugar Skulls, who won Defensive Player of the Week honors, as Tucson goes to 3-3 and Massachusetts to 2-4. Our final Saturday game was the Bay Area Panthers and the Arizona Rattlers, a matchup that a lot of people are keying in already as the Western Conference final preview, potentially. Boy, did this game live up to the hype and featured just about everything that you want to see in a bona fide matchup like this one. The offenses came out firing to start, both teams scoring touchdowns on their first two possessions. The second quarter featured a little bit more from the defense. We had some turnovers, some fourth down stands, kind of throwing a little bit of a wrench in things. But by the time the second quarter came around, it was time for both these teams to trade blow for blow. Touchdown here by Bay Area, touchdown there by Arizona. We had a whole bunch of lead changes. The winning play for us in this one came with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was an Arizona touchdown pass to put the score 47-42 Rattlers. So at that point, we were already over our 86.5. So the bet won. And Arizona closing out the game with the fourth down stand. They get a touchdown at the end to kind of add a little bit of insurance. And the Rattlers at home, with all of their roster changes, get it done. They go to 5-1. They send Bay Area to 4-2. Final score in that one, 53-48. And we wrapped up week 8 on Sunday night with the matchup between the Wranglers and the Strike Force. This was our game where we had picked our heavy favorite on the money line to win. In San Diego, they started this one off a little bit slow, but so too did the Wranglers. In the end, it was the Strike Force pulling away in the second half. They were up by a count of 40-16 with about 5 minutes left. The Wranglers did make it super interesting, at least as far as the spread goes, with a couple of touchdowns late. But San Diego, as 10.5-point favorites, ended up winning by 11. They barely covered by the hook, but they get the job done nonetheless to bring their record back up to 500. They beat the Wranglers 40-29, keeping Northern Arizona winless on the season in 6 tries. So that is how week 8 turned out. Our season results so far look pretty good, if we exclude the obvious 2-10 money line record that sticks out like a sore thumb. But our over-under betting to this point in the season has been insanely good. So now comes the question of, do we tap into that more, or is this something that we don't want to beat the dead horse on? It really just depends on what's offered, and we'll kind of see how that plays out when we make our picks later on in the show. As we mentioned earlier, our parlay attempt was one leg short this time around. We got both of our under picks correct, but that coin toss that we put in the parlay of Bay Area beating Arizona obviously didn't happen. Again, there's really no shame in losing the parlay like this. The game very easily could have gone either way. We knew how this was likely the way that it was going to go down, with one team making the play at the end. Just happened on this occasion to be Arizona. But we've still got 18 of 24 winning legs in that sample size so far. Again, another ridiculous stretch that we're going to look to continue to build on here. Our weekly results to date, our flat method of betting has us back right above the surface at about 1 unit of net gain. The weighted method still kind of straggling behind a bit as a result of those money line losses that we've suffered, particularly on betting on the favorites. But we're right on that upswing. We're right where we want to be. The key is just to try to continue coming up with those winning picks to continue that climb. And our ROI figures are right there. The flat method is around 2.5% in the positive, and the weighted method around 5% in the negative. Entering week 9. So here's the full comprehensive table of results so far. The big surprise, at least to me, is the efficiency of favorites covering against the spread, which historically the past couple years has been a proposition dominated by the underdog. But so far this season, we haven't had nearly as many double-digit favorites out there. So those closer spreads, meaning that the favorites don't necessarily have to go out and blow teams out in order to cover these days. So favorites at about a 56% clip on the season. Home teams are covering at about the same rate against the spread. Money line betting, it's been largely chalky throughout the past couple weeks. Only 4 underdogs have won outright in the past 3 weeks. That's a span of 18 games. So the favorite winning rate is 67.4%, which is slightly above the 23-24 rate of 66%. And home teams, very, very advantageous to be the home team right now, as you are winning at about a 63% clip. If you pick a random game right there, the odds that a home team won, 63%. All 6 home teams won in week 8 as well, adding to that total considerably more. From an over-under standpoint, the unders still dominating at a 60% clip, a number that becomes closer to 2 out of 3. Does the under win when our total is set at a number greater than 82.5? So still some very interesting results here, some valuable insights as we continue forth with this 2025 season. Here are the team-by-team results. As you can see, only 2 streaks remain perfect. Northern Arizona unders and fading the Wranglers on the money line. Everything else has either hit or failed to hit at least once. Some of the notable results there are highlighted in either green or red. Again, this was a great exercise. Last year around this time, we started to put this into our decision making, and it paid massive dividends near the tail end of the season. So a lot of interesting data points to look at here and see if we can apply any of these to our picks this week. Our bet results by team. The most interesting one of these is Northern Arizona. Not only are we perfect on their picks with a 6-0 record, we've already eclipsed the number of wins that we had in Wranglers games all of last season, when we had only 5 betting wins involving the Wranglers in all of 2024. So crazy what a difference a year can make. On the flip side, there's only 1 team remaining where we only have 1 betting win. That is the San Antonio Gunslingers. So kind of going back to the team-by-team results that we went over just now, is there something there in the Gunslingers matchup that we want to potentially take advantage of? Again, the goal in each of these 14 teams is to get to that 7-win mark. So our work is cut out for teams like the Gunslingers who we're struggling back with 1 or 2 wins on. All righty, so now it's time for our disclaimer section. Our lines and odds, as always, are going to come from DraftKings Sportsbook. Now that money line betting is made available in every game, which was not the case in 2023 or 2024, there aren't necessarily any blanks to fill. And if anything, if another book decides to offer something, it'll just be comparing and contrasting what those lines are set at. So we're going to be using DraftKings, as we have always. And this series is purely for entertainment and curiosity purposes, just for fun. It's not a money-making tool. There's no such thing as a lock or guarantee in the sports wagering world, as many of the folks in the NBA out there will tell you firsthand. If you want to play along and tail or fade some of my bets, you're more than welcome to do so, but please do so responsibly. Have safe gaming habits, including setting your budget, both time and money. Risk only what you can afford to lose. You got to be more than 21 or older to play in most jurisdictions. And if you feel that you or a loved one is having an issue with problem gaming, there's a lot of resources that you can refer to online to get assistance with it. Havegameplan.org is an example that I have down at the bottom. That's one of many of the exceptional resources that gaming commissions have out there to offer some help and assistance and encouragement with the ever-pervasive issue of problem gaming. All right. So with that said, it is time to make our Week 7 selections. This is a loaded 7-game slate, as you can see. So I have called upon another brilliant IFL mind to help with providing some insight and some opinion on each of these games. For this particular individual, this is his second bite out of the Wager Wednesday apple after having been the first ever special guest on this series. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in Trey from the Off the Wall podcast and blog. Trey, good evening. Hope you're having an awesome day. How you feeling?
Good evening, Alec. I am doing well. Appreciate the invite back on the program. We had a really good week 1. Let's see if we can replicate that this week.
Yeah, I think our week 1 turned out okay.
It did all right, yeah.
Just one loss for me, and you were just out here spitting facts. Perfect on your single game bets and offering a parlay for the people.
Week 1 unders. It's a thing. It's a thing. Book it for next year.
Very much noted. Any other initial thoughts for you before we head to the big board?
Well, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. So, you being a Pirates fan, if we're selecting a team you root for, in the situation you were in this past week with the Pirates, where they fumble it on the last possession, but that secures the wager. How do you feel in that moment? In the moment where you're like, it was a slim chance of coming back, but I'm kind of glad it happened so that my bet hits. Like, how are you feeling?
I mean, honestly, at that point, the game was basically out of hand. You're down by 21. It's under a minute to go. So you're like, okay, I mean, if they score, great. I kind of lose the wager, but it's a little bit of positive momentum heading into next week. But in the same breath, that game just was downright bad.
It was tough. It was a tough one
for Massachusetts. So it kind of goes along that two schools of thought. Like, I'm watching the game obviously as a fan, but I'm also watching it as kind of that, unbiased as possible.
Yeah.
Kind of dude. So
the juxtaposition of being happy and sad that he fumbles just makes me laugh. Like, in those situations where it's like, man, nowhere but sports gambling does this happen. Where you're happy and sad at the same time about something bad happening to your team. So it's something else.
100%. All right, let's get the big board up here.
And while you were going through the numbers for the over under records, the against the spread records, I've been keeping track on my own. I've been trying to follow your footsteps, and you do not understand how happy I was that we were right on. Like, I was like, if I screw this up somehow, I'm going to be mad. But if my numbers are matching Alec's numbers, I know I'm doing something right in terms of tracking. So that made me very happy.
Awesome. Well, it's obviously more valuable when multiple people are taking the effort to do this, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Always good. All right, let's get this zoomed in a little bit. And let's discuss our first game. It goes down tomorrow at 8, so less than 24 hours away. The Oilers head to Moline to play the Quad City Steamwheelers primetime Eastern Conference matchup between two provisional playoff teams. Quad City returns home following their first loss of the season and lay 3.5 in this one. The over-under set at 77.5. If you want to try the money line, Tulsa's plus 124 and Quad City's minus 148. What do you think we should expect from this game, Trey?
I think the biggest question is Daquan Neal starting? Like, we saw last week that this Quad City team is just a drastically different team without him in the lineup. So that's what we need to track down. We need to go find Corey Ross. We need to lock him in a room and say, hey, you're not leaving until you tell us if Daquan Neal is playing tomorrow. Because that's honestly the biggest differentiator in this game. Because if he is, I think the over is the play. Just because that's a pretty low number for both of these teams. What was it? Quad City is 4-3 on the over. Tulsa's been pretty good on the under, but they just gave up 57 to a bad Iowa team last week. So Tulsa's one of those teams where they either give up 50 or 20. Like it seems to be nowhere in between. Yeah, if Daquan Neal is starting, I probably go over 77. But honestly, if he's not, even if he is, I still might lean towards a Tulsa money line. Just get a little extra juice on it. Do I still have you?
Yeah, for sure. So would your play? What did I miss your pick, Trey?
No, I'm sorry. I think we broke up a little bit. Yeah, I was going with Tulsa money line. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
I'm thinking about going with for this one. Although I am terrified that Quad City's debuting new uniforms and they look really, really cool. And
the halfway to Halloween ones. Yeah, I saw those.
Quad City cool uniforms at home. Oh man, I'm already regretting this. But hey, we'll go with it. We'll roll with it.
For sure, I like it. It's a solid shot. I mean, it's very easy to feel confident backing TJ Edwards in spots like these with how good he's been. I don't think people realize enough. Like, the guy's won 4 Offensive Player of the Week awards in the past 6 weeks. Like, we were kind of waiting the first couple weeks for the TJ Edwards nuclear explosion, and it's happened right before our very eyes. It's been insane to watch.
Yeah, when I was reviewing the game for the blog and the podcast, I was like, yeah, he had a pretty good game last week. 5 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. I was like, geez, he had 8 touchdowns, and I just said he had a pretty good game. I was like, oh my God.
I mean, I guess that's the respect that you get when you've played in this league for as long as you have, and you just balled out.
Honestly,
no questions asked. So yeah, I'm kind of with you in this line of thinking here. Like, the big issue is going to be, is Daquan Neal healthy? Because that's really going to dictate a lot of the outlook of Quad City. I stuck with the over on this play either way. This number is really, really low.
Yeah.
Quad City and Tulsa collectively each put up 46 points per game. And we are also talking about a game involving TJ Edwards, who, on a good streak can average 8 touchdowns per game.
Yeah.
Like, Tulsa could get like 80% of this total all on their own.
Oh, 100%.
TJ one of those, Edwards, like, vintage MVP level outings. Like,
I think
if Tulsa gets 50, Quad City's just got to get 28.
Yeah.
in that line of thinking.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it was like, I'm very much of the mindset of, under no circumstances do you fade Quad City at home.
Yeah,
a lesson that I've learned from some pretty solid experts, if I say so myself.
Yeah.
But again, this over is too low in my opinion. I think this game could get to 90 points, and it should be a good one.
Yeah,
it should be good. So my pick is the over here at 77.5. As we make our way to the second game, might overlap the first, so I'm not sure if I can call it a true doubleheader or not, but it is the second game on Friday. It is Tucson and Bay Area. Panthers trying to rebound following that tough loss to Arizona last week. They're favored by 10.5. The over-under is 79.5. Tucson's plus 270 money line, and Bay Area minus 340. This is a very interesting matchup because Tucson has found another level, both offensively and defensively. They've just taken down the 2 championship participants from a year ago on consecutive weeks. Granted, both of those were at home, but they showed signs of life defensively all season long. I think they're a top 4 team at the age in scoring defense. Area's right up there at number 2, I think. So if those teams' defenses play to form, alley fight, basically resembling a typical NBA playoff game these days with how physical it gets. Your initial thoughts on any team trends or players of note, Trey?
I was looking at the transaction list, and a couple things stood out to me for Bay Area in particular. One, Joe Fouché is going on short-term IR. He's there, all IFL DB, unbelievably good. Anytime there's a turnover, anytime the ball is loose, he's within 5 yards of it. It's incredible. He's going to be out. And then, God, I'm blanking on the name. RZ McCorker. He was just put on the season IR, and he is an explosive player for this Bay Area team. So I do think Bay Area has other weapons, but he has been somebody that's been a bit of a game breaker for them and can really bust things open on the kickoff returns. He's good for a 30-yard end around. He's good for stretching the defense. So those two injuries in mind, I'm leaning towards Tucson plus 10.5. Like, I hate it. I really hate it, but it's between the plus 10.5 or the under 79. Because like you said, it's gonna be a low scoring affair if both teams play to what they are. Tucson unders are 5-1 on the year just because their defense has been unbelievable and their offense hasn't been great until last week. So it's going to be one where it's like, I think Tucson can keep it a lot closer than we think, given the adjustments that Bay Area is going to have to make.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't hate this one as much as you probably are, because we talk about Iowa being the backdoor cover kings of the IFL. Tucson, like past couple years, might be the runner-up in that department. So if it comes down to that, where it's like Tucson's trailing by like 15, 16 points or whatever, and they have the last possession of the game, they very well could pull this out as a last second sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I look at Bay Area's body of work, though, and yeah, they lost to San Antonio, they lost to Arizona, but their wins have been pretty much no contests.
Yep.
With their lowest margin of victory in those 4 wins, the 16-pointer at Fishers. They got a pair of 23-point wins against San Diego and the 22-pointer against Northern Arizona to boot. I just like Bay Area in this spot at home. I'm more than willing to lay the 10.5 here, based on the track record that they've put in so far. I do worry about the low-scoring nature that this game could potentially pose, since that typically favors the underdogs, at least from a handicapping perspective.
Right.
And 10.5 is a lot in a game like this. The implied score of this one would probably be somewhere around 45 to 35 in favor of Bay Area, if you do the math. But I certainly think the Panthers can put up enough points here and hold Tucson down more than enough to get this done. The Panthers, they've played 4 home games so far. They average giving up 27 points per game in those outings.
Yeah.
So they know how to get it done that side of the ball. Obviously, losing Fouché will hurt a little bit from just that explosive playmaking ability that side of the ball. But they're loaded with guys. They're loaded with 7 other guys who at any point in time can make an impact.
Yeah, when you're returning 7 starters from last year and they had a very good defense last year, they still got guys all over the field. So yeah, they're still going to be very good. But it's just, I just don't like any of the picks in this game because I'm like in my brain, I'm like, I could see any one of these happening, and I hate that. Usually it's like I could see 1 or 2 happening, but yeah, I get to see all 4. Like there is a scenario where all 4 of these very realistically happen.
I agree. The bookmakers definitely did a good job on putting the initial handicaps and totals on this game.
I'm in a pretzel over here. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, if you stick with the Tucson at plus 10.5, it ensures that one of us takes the
right. Somebody's going to win.
A bit of an inverted way to team up, but
yeah,
it is an option. And it might be the only one for this game, to be honest.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Saturday's slate.
All right.
7 in the Western Conference. Travel to San Diego to play the Gunslingers. The Guns are back home. We're under 79 point strike force minus 40. What's stood out to you, Trey, when first glancing over these?
It seems like San Diego's coming into form, and it seems like San Antonio is still lost. So to me, 3.5 points in favor of San Diego makes the most sense, just because I can trust Nate Davis in that San Diego offense more than I can trust anything on that San Antonio team right now. So without diving too far into it, that 3.5 numbers feels like it should be like a 5.5, 6.5. And just because that's how it feels, I feel like I got to take the 3.5 just because of the value.
So sorry, Trey. The connectivity is having a really big problem right now. I think I got along the lines of what you were saying, though, is that this basically comes down to basically how we feel about both teams. And right now, San Diego instilling a lot more trust in the hearts of most fans than are the Gunslingers, who do bring in a new quarterback this week in Joaquin Collazo. Who knows if he winds up getting the start over either Guy Myers or Zach Reeder.
Yeah.
But it's another option that the Gunslingers have to try to shoot some sort of life into an offense that's only scored 31 points per game so far.
Yeah, it's not good. And when you're bringing in Joaquin Collazo to breathe life into your offense, things are bad.
which I will say, in his brief stint with Iowa earlier this year, the Barnstormers did show some fight offensively. There were a lot of turnovers, but there were also a lot of big plays downfield, which this team is sorely lacking right now.
Right.
So maybe that's a look that they need. Even if they only hit, one out of however many of those deep passes,
right?
It's probably one more than they've gotten in each of their past couple games.
Mm-hmm.
So there certainly is that factor to it. San Diego minus 3.5. You do get the nice even money payout. It's a pretty solid pick. I've got the under in this one.
Okay.
I've got the under. It's always dangerous when you're focusing on a point total in the 70s. But we talked about San Antonio's offense struggling mightily so far this year. They've had one game where they spiked for 55 points, but everything else has been basically 31 points or fewer. As for San Diego, they've had some inconsistencies on offense as well. Like, we've seen a bunch of their drives where it's just like, run of 1 yard, one of 1 yard, Nate Davis incomplete pass, and all of a sudden you're running Lacayo out there for a 40-something yard field goal attempt.
Yeah.
I do feel that San Diego's defense is in a plus matchup here for the reasons that we described earlier. And I view San Antonio's defense on the flip side in a prove it type of matchup where they also could potentially have a nice matchup here. I think if both teams stay below 40, which is right where their season averages are so far, I think we can gut this win out with another under pick.
Yeah, and picking an under in the 70s is scary, but yeah, the line of thought is there. It makes sense.
Cool. So your provisional pick, San Diego minus 3.5. My pick under 79.5. All right, let's move down to Duval. Fisher's Freight, the Jacksonville Sharks, both teams coming off a bye, kicking off the first leg of a home and home, where the Jacksonville Sharks are favored by 7.5. Over under is 80 in the hook. The Freight are plus 195 money line, and Sharks minus 238. Who do you give the advantage to in this one, Trey? And some of your other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so Sharks unders are 5-1 on the year. Their defense is unbelievable. Their offense has not been that great. League leader in interceptions at quarterback for the Jacksonville Sharks, and I think the under is the move here. Was it 80.5? Yeah, I think that's the move here. Fishers does not have a great quarterback situation. They're very run heavy. And so when you're very run heavy, that usually indicates longer drives. Longer drives means fewer drives in the game. Fewer drives usually equates to less points. So it feels like it's going to be another grinded out game for Fishers, because that passing attack, I don't trust them anyway, let alone against a defense like Jacksonville. So I think the under is definitely the move here. And I hate the 7.5 number for Jacksonville. If it was like a 5.5, 6.5, I might be down with it, but that extra half, I'm out on it. So under 80.5 all the way.
For sure. And to add to that point of Jacksonville's defense, they've also been an incredible team at home.
Oh, yeah.
They had that game where they only allowed 19 to the Nighthawks. They held the Barnstormers to 22 points. They did have that oddball game where they gave up 42 to the Pirates, who played an incredible game on that week where they went in and got the dub.
Yeah.
But even with that game factored in, that's a 3-game average of, I think, 27 points.
Yeah.
They're right there with the Panthers, who we talked about earlier, as a team whose defense just shines in front of their home fans. So the under definitely could be fueled by that. My pick for this one, I don't really mind the minus 7.5 as much.
Okay.
I don't really mind it as much. The tricky thing is gauging Jacksonville's offense, which we'll have to see if they get some of those offensive players back, like Jimmy Robinson and Tyler King.
Mm-hmm.
If either one comes back, it provides a really nice element for the Sharks in this game and moving forward. And it's not like Fishers is immune to the turnover bug either.
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
We've seen games from them where, whoever starts at quarterback goes up and chucks 5 interceptions, which is only going to add fuel to the fire on the Jacksonville side of things. I think when I projected this game, I think Jacksonville by 2 touchdowns was the initial prediction. So I feel really good with this. We get minus 105, a nice little added bonus. And what this really comes down to, in my mind, can Jacksonville quell the league-leading rushing attack from Fishers?
Right.
If they can, and they can force the game through the air, they're going to be in fantastic shape.
Oh, yeah.
It just comes down to whether or not the Sharks can put up enough points, which if the defense does their job, it makes life that much easier for Caleb Barker, K'Ron Ashley, and the rest of the Sharks crew.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something I just thought about as you were talking here is something that helps that 7.5 line is Jacksonville's kicker, Dylan Barnes. If he's still, I'm assuming he's still the kicker. I know they've been swapping out kickers like every other week for the past month or so. But if he's still the kicker, he's a threat to hit a deuce every single time he steps on the field. He was unbelievable for the Orlando Predators last year over in the AFL. And if he's able to connect on 1 or 2 deuces, that could be the difference for the spread itself, where that half point that scares me away is a no sweat for you, just because they score a touchdown, hit an extra point, hit a deuce, dust their hands off, they're good to go.
Yeah, it's always tough. I typically don't like 7.5 point spreads on the favorite side of things because you are over that key number of 7. In this case, though, I'll make an exception, a little bit of a roll of a dice, and we'll see what happens.
Of course, let's do it.
All right, coasting along right here. Game 5 of the week, 8:05 kick on Saturday, Green Bay at Iowa. Round 2 between these two Eastern Conference rivals. The Blizzard are laying 6.5 as the road favorite. The over-under 85.5. Green Bay's minus 218 money line and Iowa plus 180. I think you're chopping at the bit to talk a little bit about the Iowa Barnstormers here, Trey, or you might want to talk about the Green Bay Blizzard. So I'll let you lead things up with this one with first thought on your mind.
Yeah, Iowa, man. Oh man, Iowa. What do we do with you, Iowa? they are the most puzzling team, man. Like from being in a position where they're down 31 in the 4th last week to coming all the way back and landing within 5. It's like, okay, are you potent on offense? I didn't think you were, but apparently you might. You just put 57 on the board. But then you kind of take a step back and you're like, okay, well, they had an interception return on a bad TJ Edwards pass and a kickoff return and an onside kick recovery. So like they had all these lucky bounces go their way to be able to even sniff that 57 number. And it just feels like what you mentioned before is with Collazo, feels like every quarterback that throws in there is like a Jameis Winston effect where he's going to heave the ball downfield and it could be a 30-yard pick, or it could be a 30-yard touchdown, or it could be the worst interception you've seen in your life. And it's like that for every quarterback that they throw in there. And it's absolutely maddening to see. The last matchup between these two teams went over that 85.5 mark, right? I have that right.
It did, 99.
Yeah, hit 99, which is a very big number. And that was also one where Iowa stormed back with 3 minutes left and managed to cover with like
Yeah.
less than a minute left.
I remember that.
It seems like
I
they're the
was on the
cover
bad end of
kings.
that.
Yeah. It seems, yeah. So we were both in that boat. It seems like they're the cover kings in these spots, but Green Bay is just really coming into form. I think Max Myler, excuse me, looked really, really good last week. And if they can get a run game going, I don't think, like, you saw what they were able to do to that Quad City defense. Even without Daquan Neal on the offensive side, they still were able to manhandle the Quad City defense quite a bit last week. So I think if Green Bay can run the ball effectively like they're capable of doing, we haven't even seen Jalen Cagle hit the field yet, so he could be on kick return duty. They could work him into the running back rotation. I'm leaning towards that -6.5 number just because it feels right, and I just have a lot of trust issues with Iowa, and this is either going to solve them or make them worse if they somehow cover this.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that trust issue in Iowa is actually what prevents me from going Green Bay at -6.5.
Yep.
This is kind of my cop-out pick of the week.
There it is.
Green Bay money line. I'm
Yeah,
taking
that's fair.
any sort of doubt out of the equation. If Iowa is going to screw me over on this bet, it is going to be because they outright win, which this season or this all-time series, past few dominated by the Green Bay Blizzard. Like you said, if they play their game, they get run game going with Myler and Cagle and Kimani Clark. This is a very, very tough team to stop. Similar to what the San Antonio Gunslingers were doing last year. But you pair that with any sort of defense that's above average. Green not too far off from getting back to the level of dominance that they were last year.
Definitely, yeah.
Same. Even though Iowa is at home, they can have games like this every so. But I like the Blizzard here. The spread not bad either at -6.5, but I don't know. Iowa spreads, whichever way that you with those picks, and head off to our Saturday night game, 9:05. Vegas at Arizona. Playoff rematch from a year ago. Arizona at home for this one. They're favored by 5.5. Over-under is 92.5, which is the largest over-under in a game this season. Vegas is +164. Arizona -198. Bunch of star power in store waiting for us on this one, Trey. Who shines the brightest to you?
I'm interested to see if tomorrow what happens on the transaction list with the Rattlers, just because last week they had a ton of movement. Last week they had a healthy scratch of their kicker because they needed so many other bodies at other positions. They literally chose to forego having a kicker so they could have an extra DB or an extra wide receiver, and it worked for them. And so it was just a Kevin Guy masterclass down in Arizona last week. But this one, I might change this pick 2 or 3 times before the game kicks off on Saturday, just because like it's one where the Vegas Nighthawks finally showed who we thought they could be prior to the season last week. But then you got to take it with that grain of salt of it was against a pretty bad San Antonio team. So was that Vegas being true to form, or was that San Antonio being true to form to what they actually are, right? So
yeah, that's a fair question to consider.
Yeah, you got to take it with a grain of salt, but Jerome Johnson has looked really good the past couple of weeks. The 2 weeks ago when he came in relief of Jaden DeLaura, he didn't have any backbreaking turnovers. He didn't have any backbreaking turnovers last week, and that's part of the success that Vegas experienced. Just depending on what the injuries look like and what moves end up happening for the Rattlers, I might be inclined to go with Vegas +5.5. Maybe even, sprinkle a little bit on the money line, just because it seems like Vegas is primed for a run. And if Arizona's dealing with injuries and when you look back to the Arizona Bay Area game last week, they converted on a lot of clutch fourth down plays.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't hit on one of those, Bay Area walks away with that win. So it's like it was an impressive win by Arizona, but a lot of good things had to happen in their favor for that to happen the way it did. So I feel like Vegas is the lean here.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few candidates that qualify for an upset bid like Vegas can here. You know, they're winners of 3 straight. Like you said, Arizona's a little bit shorthanded with some roster turnover questions to kind of consider. I'm going to be very unpopular for this pick, but under 92.5.
Okay.
Is my go around for this one. This is just a lot of points. It's over 13 touchdowns. And we know both of these teams have offensive ceilings that are crazy, but they're also very good defensive teams too.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're both in the top half of the league in terms of point scoring against per game. And Vegas is a team that has done a really good job this year, perhaps better than anybody else in the IFL, of extending out those lengthy drives. Possessing the ball, running an effective rushing game with the combo of Johnson and Delora, getting Antonio Wimbush involved, and just keeping the ball out of the hands of opposing offenses.
Yeah.
Like they've done a fantastic job of limiting the number of chances that the opposition has to make them pay. And when you do that, your defense in turn gets very, very well rested. So guys like James Caesar, who had a really nice game last week, Mikel Calhoun, who's come through with a bunch of key turnovers as well in the past 3-4 games. This could look really similar to last year's playoff game where neither team got to 40.
Yeah.
And then being, I think, 39-38 Arizona in that narrow win. Maybe it doesn't wind up as a situation where neither team gets to 40. I'd be very willing to bet one team does. I'm just not sure the total adds up here.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, especially when you take into consideration that Vegas's unders for the year are what, 4-2 on the year,
so.
just because Vegas's defense has been playing really good, and if Vegas's offense was just league average for some of those first couple of games, with the way Vegas's defense was playing, they're probably sitting at 5-1 right now, potentially even undefeated. So the Vegas defense has been keeping them afloat, and the offense is finally catching up to them. So yeah, it makes sense sticking with that under 92, being that it is the highest number of the week, and by far, right? Like by 7 points.
I think we had a 91.5. That was the week 1 Tulsa San Antonio tilt. That's a grand total of 48.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously a bit of an apples to oranges comparison there, but does provide some context at just how tricky it is.
Yeah. I like that pick. I like that under.
All righty. Last game of the week. What a barn burner, right? The Massachusetts Pirates and Northern Arizona Wranglers doing battle for the 3rd consecutive season. The Pirates head in as 2.5-point favorites with the over-under 77 in the hook. The Pirates are minus 142 money line, and the Wranglers at plus 120. What can fans glean from this game, Trey, to gain any sort of interest in watching if they're not either from the Commonwealth or the Valley?
Oh, man. Well, it's very likely that we see a debut of a new quarterback for Northern Arizona. It's looking like Ramon Atkins is going to be the guy in Northern Arizona. So if that is the case, that breathes some life into this Wranglers team. We saw what Caleb Lowe was able to do when he was healthy before he got absolutely rocked last week and
that was
a first drive. That was crazy. And it felt like last week was the week that Northern Arizona could have stolen one and got that positive momentum going. But if Ramon Atkins is starting, and honestly, if Kenji Bahar is starting, I feel like you got to roll with Northern Arizona here for either the spread or the money line, because if I'll let you confirm this, Massachusetts is 0-3 straight up as the favorite this season.
I believe that sounds right. It depends on book. I think they've been favored in either 2, maybe 3 games, but their only 2 wins of the season have come when they were the betting underdogs. So
Exactly. Yeah.
there is
So
that pattern to tap into for sure.
yeah. So the fact that they're 0-3 straight up as a favorite going against a Northern Arizona team that's been knocking on the door, just needing a decent quarterback, just a decent quarterback. They don't need a good quarterback. They need a decent quarterback. It feels like Northern Arizona is the play. Maybe that under 77.5, just because both defenses are solid, both quarterbacks, or the quarterback play for both teams has been not great leading into this one, but it feels like Northern Arizona is going to get their first win of the season.
Yeah, it does seem like that, like constantly knocking on the door. Mm-hmm. Maybe a game against a Pirates team on that downward trend is what gets that for them.
Right, yeah.
But the reality of the fact right now is that we don't know who's starting for Northern Arizona. I think it was when I was watching the broadcast of their game on Sunday, I think the commentators mentioned something about Atkins maybe not being ready to join the team until mid-June.
Yeah.
Because that's when his school year ends teaching.
Yeah.
From what I could gather. Caleb Lowe, questionable at best. So it might be a signing either Friday or Saturday.
And if that's the case, I retract everything I have just said. if they sign someone on Friday,
it becomes really tough. The other thing to consider too is the Wranglers' smallest margin of defeat this season has been 6 points, and that was the backdoor cover against Vegas from a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah. Everything else has been pretty much double digits, where they've had some combination of being overmatched or just shooting themselves completely in the foot.
Yeah.
So my pick here is actually Massachusetts on the money line.
Okay.
It's a little bit crazy to consider, especially where they're not the strongest team on the road. But at their best, they project to be better than this Northern Arizona team, especially if they wise up a little bit with their offensive play calling. Like, this is somewhere that I thought a little bit about it. The way that Bahar played in those 2 wins definitely built a lot of confidence in the guy going forward. But I think that ended up resulting in a gravitation away from that running game that's been so good in favor of Bahar sling it, which the Pirates in their wins, the way that they did it, dominant run game, feeding a quick passing game, because Bahar's an arm, which is really conducive to hitting some of those like short slant passes, quick screens, things of that nature. You get back to that. Northern Arizona's defense, it has had its moments of takeaways, but they've still given up quite a bit on a per game basis. As long as Massachusetts is able to play, play hard, fast, play smart, get back to that Pirate team that we know that they do have, and the coaching staff, the Pirates should be able to win this. And we get a really nice discount here at a minus 2.5 spread.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but yeah, just from week 1 watching Bahar, it's been painful. Like he just holds on to the ball for so long at times, where it's
did, and that was the problem with the first couple games for him. But then those other couple games that were wins, the timing was much better. Either the ball was out
he was getting the ball out of his
hands,
he
was using his legs, extending the play, and checking down to like Puka Williams or someone if need be.
Yep.
But I don't think there's any situation where the Pirates want to be where they're forced to have Bahar throw anywhere near 25 passes a game. And the Pirates were the same exact way with guys like Alejandro Benefield at center. Like, thinking about to last year, like some of his most efficient games were games where he only slung the ball like 12 times and he completed like 10 of them.
Yeah, right.
While the running game did all the heavy lifting. So I think the Pirates get back to that. Puka Williams is coming off a 100-plus yard rushing game in that loss to Tucson. He could very well go over the century mark again, assuming that he gets the nod.
Right.
So Mass minus 2.5 is my play here. So that is a rundown of each of the 7 games and what to expect. It's parlay time, Trey. You were able to
All
help
right.
build one that got all the way to the cashier in week 1.
Yeah.
What are your 3 favorite plays of week 9?
Well, I know 2 of them off the top. The third one I might need to talk through just out loud. The first one is that Jacksonville under. I really,
Okay.
really like that Jacksonville under. It just feels like that's just so many points for the type of offenses that are going to be going into this game. I really like that San Diego minus 3.5 as well over San Antonio, just because like San Antonio, like there's just nothing I can point to about San Antonio outside of like Naquan Murray probably is give me any hope that they could do that. The third one, that's where it gets a little dicey because I kind of bouncing back and forth between a couple different ideas here. Let me consult the old cheat sheet here. Green Bay unders started off rough, but they're getting back to form, back to what they were last year. I think they're at 4-3 right now. But then again, Iowa overs are 5-1 right now. So this is the part of the year where I start talking myself in circles on these picks where I have data points for 2 opposite.
Exactly. It's that debate of something's been so hot for a while. So now are you riding that, or are you banking
Yeah.
on the one time where it kind of regresses back to the mean? It's
Right. Yeah.
the ages old decision to make.
Yeah. You know what? I'll go with one of your picks from earlier. We'll scroll up to the Friday night game in Tulsa or in Quad City. We'll do that over 77.5. I feel like
Okay.
that's a good play, especially I loved your logic with TJ Edwards. If TJ Edwards has an okay game and they score 45, that's very well within striking range.
Excellent. So 3 legs so far. We've got that Fishers Jacksonville under, San Diego covering at San Antonio, and Tulsa Quad City over. That is a plus 628 parlay. So better odds than the plus 595 that we cooked up last time out. $10 wager there would turn into $72.89.
Let's go.
If it hit.
Right.
I really do like this one too, especially that San Diego minus 3.5 leg being the juicer of this bunch.
Getting plus 100 on that is huge.
Awesome.
And I will say we haven't really gotten a lot of Lacayo deuces this year, and I feel like we're due for a game where Lacayo just explodes for like 3 or 4 of them. And San Antonio's arena is very keen on that. We saw TC Stevens last year ring up like double-digit deuces at home alone. So I would not be surprised to see Lacayo blow up on this one.
Yeah, totally. And naturally, the game with like 10 deuces is going to come on the game when I pick the under.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It always happens. I think I put in one chat. I was like, literally stop making deuces. The under is 81.5. Stop it.
They don't need help.
All right. So my parlay here, I've got 1 leg per day. The first one being Friday. It's a Tucson under. I have to take it.
That's fair.
It is 13-1 in the last 14 games. You're going up against a Bay Area team. While, yeah, they've had 3 games to the over consecutively, but those are really, really unique games. And I feel like they get back more to a matchup where they know that they can attack and capitalize on the defensive side of the ball. Losing RZ McCorker as that kind of explosive playmaking guy definitely caps some of the offensive ceiling.
Yeah,
of the
puts them in
Panther
a bit of a box. Yeah.
But honestly, 13-1 to the under in the last 14. Give me one good reason to go away from that now.
Yeah.
Second leg, Saturday, Green Bay, Iowa. Taking the over here.
Over, okay.
Over. Yep, these 2 teams made it easily last time out. James Cahoon for the Barnstormers. He showed that he can create offense in bunches when things are going well. Even though I was a little bit inconsistent that way, like you could take any given 12-minute stretch of time, they could score 0, they could score 31. But they also play a really up-tempo style with the way that they sling the ball all around. Like they're getting 12, 13 possessions per game easily when the league average is right around 10, 11.
Right.
So you add that many more opportunities to the mix. And odds are with the way that this Iowa team plays that they're going to cash in on at least the majority of those. And Green Bay's offense is a powerhouse too, with Myler and Clark and Ballard and on and around Lowell Patron. So I think we flirt with 100 here on this game between Green Bay and Iowa.
And then that takes us to Sunday, right?
And the third leg. Me if you've seen this one before from me. These are two offenses that are struggling mightily right now. And again, we don't even know who's starting for Northern Arizona at this point.
Yeah.
So a lot of question marks there. Northern Arizona is a perfect 6-0 to the under. Eventually, that streak is going to come to an end. I just don't see it happening with this game. The Pirates are also one of those 5-1 teams to the under as well. So if there's any matchup to feel confident about taking the under at this super, super low total, tough to do better than this one.
Yeah, it's pick the one that's a combined 1-11 or 11-1 towards the under, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that 3-leg parlay for the odds, just slightly underneath yours, plus 595. $10 bet would pay $69.57 if all three go through. And all three picks are trying to tap into our insane ability, at least so far this season, to predict point totals.
Yeah.
So we'll see if these three stick. So again, for those following along, first leg is Tucson Bay Area under 79.5. Second leg is Green Bay, Iowa over 85.5. And third leg, Mass, Northern Arizona under 77.5. Slight bit under 6-1, $10 into a little bit less than 70.
Just for fun, since we don't have any competing picks, let's see what all six would do in a single parlay. Let's see what the odds would.
All right. So that would be your Tulsa Quad City over.
Yep.
San Diego minus 3.5. And that Fisher's Jacksonville under.
Wow.
50-1.
That's a juicy one.
That is a juicy one. I will be honest, I am not resisting the temptation of betting this. Maybe not for $10, maybe a smaller sprinkle, but
yeah,
I feel like this is something that needs to happen.
Yeah, honestly.
And if it does happen, we will blow up social media in doing so.
We'll clip this and we'll post it out and we say we gave y'all a 50-1.
50-1 banger. An off-the-wall certified banger.
Let's go. We'd need one or two of those in this one for sure.
Heck yeah. I'm loving this, Trey.
Dude, it looks good, right?
I am very glad that you spoke up and came up with this idea.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that will do it for us on this fine Thursday evening. So again, thank you so much, Trey, for hopping on. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you prepare for some more IFL, AF1, NAL. You do it all, man. I
we're in the trenches every weekend. It's a battle. We go to war, but we come out victorious every single weekend for the love of the game. So yeah, it's been a ton of fun, and looking forward to seeing how we can continue to grow it from here.
For sure. Thanks again, Trey. Have a great night.
Absolutely. Take care. You too.
So there you have it, folks. That was Trey from the Off the Wall podcast and blog, entering this week with, I believe, a 25-18 record. So this guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to figuring out what's going on in the landscape of the IFL. All 14 teams, and he's doing this for the other main leagues as well, NAL, AF1. So definitely a great person to follow from an IFL, an indoor arena football standpoint, one of the most involved content creators around. So definitely give him a follow on socials at Off the Wall. And with that, we'll wrap up the night. For those of you who are following along with our picks, good luck. I will see you at the cashier. Have a great night.